Here's the story. I come back from a 2-week long vacation, and for once I'm actually excited to play Brawlhalla. I hop on, play for 10 minutes, and I'm already over it. What now? I ask myself. It was then that I remembered that MultiVersus was finally released while I was on vacation, which meant that it was time for me to give it another shot. So I did. And surprise, surprise, it was once again a disappointment. Why? The most important thing in any fighting game, or honestly just any game in general, is obviously the gameplay, but we're gonna start with the first thing that you see when you load up the game, which is the tutorial. But actually, the tutorial doubles as both an introduction to the controls as well as the story mode. Basically, the story goes as follows. The multiverse is in trouble, so Batman is recruiting none other than Shaggy to save it. Yeah, you know the situation is dire when Shaggy himself is needed to solve the problem. Now, similar to like 99.99% of people playing this re-release of the game, I played the original MultiVersus already, meaning I don't really need a tutorial. Unfortunately, there is literally no way to skip the tutorial. Now, that wouldn't be so bad, except for the fact that it features more dialogue than the average Oblivion NPC interaction. But hey, it's not all bad. At least you get to beat the living daylights out of this Mr. Meeseeks bot while Marvin the Martian spells out exactly what you're supposed to do as if he's talking to an actual toddler. With the tutorial completed, we could finally talk about the gameplay. It sucks. Well, I guess it didn't suck during my first few matches, but I'm inclined to believe that it's because I was put against literal bots. Like, don't try and tell me there's a functioning human brain behind this gameplay. I know a ton of elementary school kids that could play better than this. Okay, that sounds weird out of context. I swear I'm not a pedo, I just work with kids. Once I played a couple of matches, I was then put against real players, and that's when the problems of MultiVersus gameplay really began to shine. The game is super passive and floaty. It sucks to say that because the whole reason I wanted to play this game in the first place was to get away from the passiveness and cheesiness of Brawlhalla, and yet this game insists on embedding those qualities as well. There's a ton of games where people will just stay in the air and spam down air, and depending on the character, you can actually get looped by that single move, and trust me, that is never fun. That's another thing about this game. It's really easy to get caught in a loop or early kill confirm combo. I've seen it in my own games and on Twitter. And no, I'm not talking about those fake 0-to-deaths people find in the labs against a bot that can't even move. I'm talking about loops and combos that cannot be DI'd out of. Depending on the force your character's attacks have, you can get stupidly early kills with the right sequence of moves. Harley Quinn is a great example of this, whose grounded up attack, neutral air, and up air can be a deadly combo when used towards the top of the map. At least, that was the case until they completely gutted those moves and practically destroyed her as a character, but that's besides the point. The top of the map isn't the only place where you can get these early knockouts though, as the map's sides can also be deceivingly small and can lead to a death you weren't expecting. But hey, at least there's no actual 0-to-death combos, right? That reminds me, the way the characters are balanced makes it seem like they don't get tested in the slightest. Tell me how you re-release a game after spending a year revamping it, only to immediately take out a character who was in the original beta due to being too overpowered, and then after patching it back into the game, you still give him a true 0-to-death combo. Now, I know an argument can be made for this being a fair 0-to-death combo due to the large amount of startup frames needed for the grab to hit, but either way, it still makes the game feel even cheesier than it already did. Of course, the biggest contributor to the cheesiness of MultiVersus has to be the fact that you can pretty much spam moves in the direction of your opponent and somehow get them into a combo. Like this match, for example, where I'm using Rick for the first time ever. I have no clue what any of his moves do, and yet just by rolling my face over the keyboard, I managed to get some nice combos and win the match. Now, I know what you're thinking. If you're against a terrible enough player, can't you spam moves and win in any fighting game? The answer is kind of. In a game like Brawlhalla, people spam signatures all the time in lower ranks and destroy their opponents. But ask yourself this, does this person look like they know what they're doing? Heck no! They look like a nose-picking toddler that's tempted to try eating the keycaps on their keyboard. Not only that, but it's pretty obvious how to beat them. Just wait for them to throw out a signature, and then punish. But then in MultiVersus, you can have that exact same glue-eating infant spamming moves, only this time, it can be much harder to dodge out of or punish. It also doesn't look too far off from what good MultiVersus players do if I'm being honest. So basically, what I'm trying to say about the gameplay after all of that is that it still needs to be worked on a lot, which is really disappointing considering they had an entire year to fix the mistakes of the beta. Now, after ripping the gameplay to shreds, you're probably thinking I'll at least be a little nicer when it comes to the other aspects of the game, and to that I say, not a chance. Let's talk about the characters. They've got all the characters from the beta and a few new ones, like Jason Voorhees, for some reason. Yeah, not my first thought when I think of potential fighting game characters, but whatever. You'll notice that unlike the beta, where every character was available to you, there are some that are locked. So let's say you want to unlock Superman. You can either spend 3,000 fighter points, which is the currency earned periodically by completing challenges, or you can spend 1,000 Gleamium, which is the paid currency in MultiVersus. How much does 1,000 Gleamium translate to? $10! I'm sorry, but that price is absolutely bonkers. Obviously, you don't have to spend that money and can use the fighter points instead, but it doesn't seem like you get these points too frequently, on top of the fact that you have to save up a bunch just to get one character. Alrighty guys, let's do some quick math. There are 15 characters here that I haven't unlocked yet, meaning that if I wanted to play all of the characters right now, I would have to spend $150. And don't forget, that's another $10 for every extra character they add from this point forward. But okay, they charge a lot to unlock characters quickly. So what? It might be understandable if this is the only way they're monetizing the game, considering it's free to play. That potential understandability flies right out the window when you enter the shop page. Daily deals, a ridiculous amount of bundles, a section for cash-only deals. They've even got a For You page. What is this, TikTok? Seriously though, this shop is so large and filled to the brim with consumables, it feels almost familiar. Wait a minute. I know what this is. It's the Fortnite item shop. I cannot be the only one that sees the uncanny similarities between these two shops, right? Actually, now that I think about it, this game seems to steal quite a bit from a different game. And no, I'm not trying to claim that having a big item shop or a battle pass is stealing from other games, because at this point, every game has to have an obligatory battle pass for some reason. But take a look at this ring out. Look familiar? How about this banana guard attack? Remind you of anything? In fact, what about these characters? Have you seen them in a fighting game before? MultiVersus thought it was slick, but we can see the truth. They stole everything from Brawlhalla. Okay, obviously I'm being satirical on that one, except for that banana guard attack. That legitimately looks like Spear Inlay on Brawl. But I will say one thing, MultiVersus, if you're gonna steal anything from Brawlhalla, just don't let it be the cutscenes.
It's cutscenes! We have cutscenes in the game now, you know, where you like read story and you press A to go to the next thing. We have a little video. Let's show them a sneak peek.
Oh, it's a sneak peek. Yes, it's a sneak
peek of one of the more tame cutscenes.
Alright, is there anything left for me to talk about? I mean, I didn't really go into the other modes besides 1v1, but I think we all understand what these alternative modes... Wait, ranked is coming soon? If you didn't play the beta for MultiVersus, here's a little backstory. One of the biggest complaints people had was that there was no ranked mode, and even when they eventually announced that one was in the works, it never came before the shutdown. And you're telling me that after a full year of reworking the game, they couldn't find the time to complete the ranked mode? I think that right there, although being pretty small within itself, is indicative of this game's true problem: the priorities of the developers. If you take a step back and look at the game as a whole, ask yourself, what's changed from the beta? A menu screen redesign? A couple of new characters and maps? A few extra things to do here and there? If you ask me, the changes that were made after an entire year of reworking the game are underwhelming at best. Of course, the one thing they definitely didn't forget to do is make a ludicrous amount of skins to be purchased. In the original beta, each character had just one skin. I even made an entire video ranking all these skins just because of how few there were. Compare that to the current version of the game, where every character has multiple skins, some even having close to 10 unique skins. There is no reason why characters should be getting that many skins when there are parts of the game that went unfinished, such as the ranked mode. If the developers had focused their resources into more important things, the game would feel a lot more like a finished product. But instead, we were given what feels almost like a beta 2.0, which is very disappointing after such a long wait and the promises that were given to the players following the shutdown of the beta. After all is said and done, it's in my belief that MultiVersus, while having a lot of potential as a fighting game, will end up falling flat just like the beta did. The current player count is reflecting this, as it's already fallen below that of Brawlhalla's, which is the game that MultiVersus was supposed to kill off in the first place. It just doesn't seem like the developers are prioritizing the right aspects of the game, and are more focused on making money than creating a good and finished product. The game is still doing well right now, but if things continue this way, it will only be a matter of time before the numbers begin to fall dramatically as they did once before. Honestly, I hope to be proven wrong. It would be nice to see this game succeed, but as things stand, it seems almost inevitable that MultiVersus will be a failure.